Yes.
Okay.
I did not feel that it was appropriate for me to make that decision. So I did tell Ms. Parker that we could offer or put on the table the same amount of ESY that was provided to all the other students at that time. And she did not like that. She felt like she had...
when you say all the other students...
that were getting ESY.
Okay, all
Yes.
other students getting ESY, that those services would be provided to Nikayla as well.
Well...
nothing more, nothing less. Is that...
right, that's where I left it, because I did not have the authority to do anything further. I explained to Ms. Parker more than once, you know, we can go back and do an addendum to this IEP when the appropriate people are at the table and can make that decision. I can't make that decision. She did not like that. She said that she had the final say-so. And
who else was in that meeting?
Miss Crystal was in that meeting, Miss Regina Allred, Miss Stephanie Gray, and maybe a few other people. I don't recall everyone in that meeting.
How quickly would it have taken you or the team to determine whether or not the ESY services for Nikayla could be... well, first of all, you were offering the same ESY services for Nikayla
as the other students were getting at that time.
Right, but you were not offering anything in addition to that, correct?
Right.
All right. And how long would it have taken you to find out if those services that you put on the table, so to speak, would be in fact approved by the district?
I could not have, I don't think it would have been that day because my supervisor was out that day.
And your supervisor again was who?
Miss Dana Carey.
Okay.
And she was out that day, so that's not a decision that I would want to make on my own. I would need to discuss it with her. I honestly did not feel like Nikayla even needed ESY. This is a service...
Did you voice that to Miss Parker that day?
Yes, I did. I feel like Miss Parker wants ESY, but if it comes right down to does she need... no, I did not feel like she needed it. I feel like Miss Parker wanted it because she's always gotten it.
Why did you feel like after... how long had Nikayla received ESY?
Since I've been here, maybe before, she received ESY.
So if she had received it in years past, why did you feel like that for the summer of 2019 she did not need it?
I felt like, based on the criteria, that she did not need it. She was already, had been receiving compensatory services. I didn't feel she needed ESY. That was my opinion. I wasn't a person on the team.
Right.
I didn't feel she
and what kind of services are provided in ESY?
Whatever the deficit area, I did ESY with Nikayla maybe 2 years ago, and we did math and reading.
Okay.
Math and reading.
I have a couple of questions I'd like to.
Well, you go ahead. Just direct them to me.
What are the qualifications of a student receiving ESY, and is other student services a qualification to recommend ESY for a student?
Now, ask those questions to me again so that I can understand them.
What are the qualifications for a student to receive ESY services, and is other student services?
You mean
a
like
qualification?
compensatory services?
No, sir. We're talking about ESY.
I know, but you're saying what other services? Services such as compensatory services? Would that...
No, sir. The narrative was stated that
again, we're in a narrative format here. What I'm hearing Ms. Davis tell me is that Nikayla was receiving compensatory services in addition to her already general instruction and Sped instruction, which would be some inclusion time, perhaps maybe some pull-out time.
Yes.
All right, so she had general instruction, inclusion instruction, pull-out instruction, and compensatory services.
Yes. And maybe
Is
it's
that
not.
accurate? I'm not a
Yes.
teacher.
You're right.
Can I make a correction on the compensatory? The compensatory was a corrective action put in place as a result of the 2018 FAPE violation that the district received.
Yes, ma'am, and I understand that maybe some changes were made and more services were provided by the district after there were some complaints made, but that's what you want a district to do, is that if if there's complaints that are found to be valid, you want the district then to take the corrective action, which that's my job today, to figure out whether they've done enough.
I
But-
just didn't want it to be.
Let me just enter, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me just ask Ms. Davis, what are the general qualifications or the general needs that you're looking for a child to receive ESY?
Okay. When I first started, it was, to the best of my knowledge, it's always been on a recommended basis. If a student is recommended for ESY,
And recommended by whom?
maybe their teacher, if they are at risk of not retaining over the summer what they learned in the school year, okay? Maybe it was last year or the year before, we had to fill out a criteria worksheet, for lack of a better word, stating what the needs were and if they met the qualifications. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you what they are, but it is a worksheet. I don't remember what was on it, but there was criteria that the student had to meet to be a candidate for ESY.
Okay, and who would have filled that out?
The teacher that was going to refer the student for ESY would be responsible for filling out the criteria worksheet.
So I would assume, because you've got math and English deficits, that you would have a math teacher and an English teacher that would be weighing in on that, correct?
Yes, if it was recommended.
Okay.
Yes.
So for 18-19, the summer of 19, that those teachers did not recommend ESY?
They did not recommend ESY.
Okay.
I
Do you recall who the English and math teachers were?
Yes, but let me say, I was her case manager. I didn't feel like that she needed ESY. I would have been the one that would have looked at the worksheet to determine, well, does she meet the qualifications for ESY?
Okay. Who was the English teacher? Do you recall?
Jackie Halford.
Jackie Halford?
Mm-hmm.
And who was the math teacher?
Last year, Sydney York.
Sydney?
Mm-hmm.
Like SYD anyway? York?
N.I. York. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did either one of those teachers weigh in with a recommendation or non-recommendation for ESY?
No, they did not.
Why?
Because as the case manager, I would look at my caseload and determine who do I think would need ESY. Based on the criteria, do they meet the criteria? And I can't even tell you what was on there right now. I can't even remember. But I did not think Nikala needed ESY. That was my opinion.
So neither Ms. Halford nor Ms. York weighed in with their opinion. Is that my?
No.
They
No.
did not.
But that's not anything alarming, I would say, because I would, being her special ed teacher, overseer of her paperwork, I would think I would be the one to say whether or not Nikala needed ESY. If she did, then based on the criteria, then I would go to her teachers and say, help me fill out the worksheet or whatever.
Is ESY provided at the home, or do the
At school.
students come to school? Okay.
Mm-hmm. But prior to last year or the year before, it's always been on a recommended basis.
And recommended by the case manager or by? Okay.
Yeah. Or parental request, whichever.
do you know of any instances where any other parent who was requesting ESI for 2018-2019 was denied?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. So Ms. Parker would have been the only parent who asked for it that did for her child and didn't get it.
I don't know that. I can't say that definitively. I'm just not sure. And I wasn't saying that, let me clarify. I wasn't saying that she was being denied. I was saying that I could not put on her IEP anything more than what any other student was getting that was going to get that service. She wanted what was on there last year, which was more services.
More ESY services?
More ESY services, yes ma'am. She wanted the same amount that Nicola got the year before. And I explained to her in front of everybody, I can't make that decision. This is what I can offer you what everybody else is getting. And I didn't even really know that I could do that. But that was not good enough for her. She wanted the same amount as last year. So that's where we had a big falling out.
I have another.
Hold on just a second. And ESY, is that Monday through Friday, or
It's however you set it up with the parent.
once they get to school, how long will it typically last? Half a day?
It varies. It does vary. It's just, like I said,
So it's kind of customized then,
it is
correct?
customized, yes. Based on the student's need.
All right, ma'am, go ahead.
So in other words, another student's services is considered a qualification to request a student for ESY services.
I did not understand that question. Can you repeat that, please? And it's, my stomach's growling too, but go ahead.
So she just said it was an individual recommendation of the time length of services. So basically, when I say is other students services, because she had noted that they wanted to recommend the services based on what other students were getting. So that would state that when she says that it either going to be a qualification as an individual, or is it a qualification to base it off of another student's services that they're getting?
Okay, I think I understand that. So when you were offering in that May 21 meeting, ESY on the same basis that other ESY students were receiving, that's a legitimate question. If ESY is a customized form of instruction, what did you mean by what everybody else was receiving?
Well, at that time, I think Miss Crystal called the teacher that was doing ESY. It would have to be tailored to the child. And I specifically said, this is not, we can come back and do an addendum later, but today this is what I can offer you.
And of course, May 21.
Because she was so adamant.
Yes, ma'am. I didn't mean to.
That's okay.
So and I just want to put things in context. May 21, you're right at the end of the school term.
Yes.
So clearly, you've got a parent that wants to know what's going to be available for my child next week or the week after when the summer term begins. I'm hearing you say that you offered whatever services other ESY students are getting. Ms. Carey was not available.
Right.
You would be able probably to get back with her within a day or two.
Yes.
Is that fair?
That's very fair.
Okay. Do we know the last day of the term last year? Any way to know?
I just would like to say,
Yeah.
I had previous IEP meetings set up with Ms. Parker for early in the month, so we could go ahead and get everything settled, and for various reasons, she did not want to attend the meeting, so we had the meeting. That third attempt was here. That was the day that she did not want to sign the paperwork.
Okay. Trying to build up to that. Let's see when the last the day of school term was.
18, 19.
Yes, sir.
I think the 20th, I believe. Let's see. 20th.
20th of May.
Which would have been on Monday. The 21st.
Yeah, 21st was a Tuesday.
Yeah. I think the 21st was I think the kids finished up on the 20th, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, yeah. For this calendar.
And I understand what you're saying, Ms. Davis, is that this was the third attempt, and of course, I guess at that point it's critical because the school term is at the end.
Yes.
All right, y'all, so you guys are in this IEP meeting. The offer was made for ESY services, and you would have to get back with Ms. Carey on that. That would be basically what other ESY students are receiving. Is that what then caused the problem in the meeting where ultimately Ms. Parker removed herself from the meeting?
Yes. To me, that was, everything was fine up until that point. Then she stormed out over the ESY services.
Okay. Do you recall anything else that was a problem of working toward an IEP for Nikayla because you guys were working on an IEP for Nikayla for 1920 at that point, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Was there anything else that was causing problems and we've all been in negotiations where we reach an impasse, but were there any other issues that were problematic that you were not being able to get to common ground on?
To my recollection, that was many days ago, I don't think so.
Okay. So it really boils down, in your opinion, to what kind of ESY services was Nikayla wanting through her mom, and what kind of services you as the case manager for Nikayla was willing to offer.
Yes, based on what I was able to do. You know, I tried to explain that. I don't have the authority to offer her more than that.
I would also like to interject that along with other students ESY services, teacher availability. Is teacher availability a qualification for a child to receive ESY services?
I have a question. Why am I up here talking about ESY? That's not why I'm up here. That has nothing to do with why I'm up here.
Well, what I'm trying to get to the bottom of is why this meeting in May got off track. And so, and I think we've gotten to the bottom of it, haven't we? It was all over the ESY that was going
to the best
we were
of my
in
knowledge.
you guys were in an impasse. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, at some point, I assume that she got ESY services last summer.
She did. Mm-hmm.
All right. Were you involved in that?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Who was involved in it?
Miss Stacy Johnson.
And who is she?
She is a special ed teacher at the junior high level.
Why would she have been the person calling the shots on that?
I absolutely did not want to have part in it. I did not want to do ESY. I did not want to do anything else
Okay.
because of the problems that we have.
And I understand, we don't have to belabor that point, but Ms. Johnson was the SPED teacher that set that up then?
Yes.
Okay. Again, the IEP meeting does not conclude with the parent signing off at the May 21 meeting. When, to your knowledge, did Nikayla get her ESY set up?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I know she did receive it, but I don't know anything more than that because after that meeting, I was
You
finished.
you removed yourself from that.
Yes.
Okay. Is Nikayla? Are you working with Nikayla this year?
No, sir.
Okay. Who is?
Miss Becky Coleman, she is the new special ed teacher. She works with her.
Who is the case manager?
Miss Linda Hatfield.
And again, what is your position this year?
I am, I guess you could say, the special ed chairperson, and I do teach a life skills class.
And Stacy Johnson was she was a SPED teacher that set up the ESY for Nikayla for last summer, right?
Correct.
Can I say something once you?
Well, you can ask me. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, going back to the ESY services and how Miss Stacy got involved. Miss Carey was involved also in the beginning. However, I filed the Tennessee Department of Education complaint the end of May of 2019. So it had already been acknowledged by the district that a complaint had been filed by the end of May. And at that time, Nikayla was not receiving any ESY services. Nikayla's ESY services did not begin until sometime in June.
Okay.
Mid-June, towards the end, right?
Okay, and that's helpful. That's helpful. But make notes of all of that because you're going to be given an opportunity to kind of summarize everything at the end. But that's helpful. Thank you. Had you ever provided any ESY services?
Prior to, yes.
Okay. But did you provide any ESY? I'm not talking about for Nikayla. Did you provide ESY services this past summer?
No.
Okay. I don't have anything else I want to go over. Ms. Parker, is there any other questions you want to direct my way?
What were the issues concerning the parapro services?
Were there issues concerning parapro services for Nikayla?
I need more specificity. I'm
Can
not
you be
sure.
more specific, Ms.?
Okay, it was not recommended for the next school year during the May IEP meeting to discontinue the parapro services. That is actually when the disagreement started.
So you're saying that in the May IEP meeting, it was recommended that parapro services be discontinued.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Were parapro services ultimately provided through the July IEP? Isn't there wasn't there an IEP in July?
There was an IEP meeting in July, but parapro services didn't begin until the beginning of the school year.
But Nikayla is working under an IEP this year, correct?
Yes, and parapro services are in that IEP.
Okay, when was that IEP finalized?
I can't tell you. I can tell you we've had 6 IEP meetings since July 8th.
Okay.
And the parapro services have been in there. We have not changed it.
Okay, so they weren't recommended in May, but ultimately parapro services were provided in an IEP.
Yeah, you just asked if there were any other issues that were at hand
In the May meeting?
in the May meeting,
Yes, ma'am.
and
I
that
did.
was one.
Okay. Anything else that we want to go over? I'm about to dismiss Ms. Davis. All right. Thank you, Ms. Davis. I appreciate it. Oh, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, one I didn't put right here. A question that I don't think got
Hold on just a
asked,
second.
and I put it at the top. I apologize. How would you rate the validity of the data from Ames Webb?
You mean this one that you've entered into evidence?
That and
And
either
any of the Ames Webb?
any of it.
Well, let me just say, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I've heard Miss Davis tell me this now this afternoon is that each Ames Webb's test is a snapshot of where that student is at the point that they're taking it that day. If they're having a bad day, they had an argument with their parent or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever, it might filter into the performance of that child on that particular test. And so I assume is the validity of the Ames Webb test, it is valid for where that student was at that particular moment that that child is taking that test. Is that fair?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
However, it affects the validity of the thought for that day results how they take it until they take it again.
I agree with that.
It reflects on how they take it for the next, 3 months?
Wait a minute. I don't know that I understand. You're saying that if they score, are Ames Webb scores shared with the student?
They can be.
Okay. Are you saying that if those scores are shared with the student and the student is told that they've declined in an area that it...
Well, that also, I'm saying you go from, because the students know, a lot of the kids will come home and say, well, I'm in whatever class with all the smart kids or so-and-so in there with the... They do know which because it ultimately, the data allows the placement of the student to be placed in a specific area or group. It's setting for a timed intervention, whether it be tier 2, whether it be tier 3. So the reason why I'm questioning the validity is because if it's just a snapshot for one day, that student is placed in an area for the next how many months?
But what I'm hearing is that because of some changes made in February, Nikayla began to get more frequent testing. Is that right?
Once she was placed, but she had already been in high risk
I
prior to
understand
that.
that, but again, the school district is trying anytime that it can to correct issues with their students. And I'm hearing that in February, efforts were made to test her more frequently that would give you more frequent snapshots, and then you could then see a pattern perhaps. Is that fair, Ms.
That's
Davis?
fair. That's fair.
And that should have been placed in December.
I understand that, but and I understand. Unless there's something else you want to share, I think I've got the picture.
I probably shouldn't, but thank you. Am I free to go?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
Can I get like a Coke or something?
Sure. So a Dr. Pepper or a Diet Dr. Pepper?
I want
Sorry?
something with sugar in it.
Okay, Dr. Pepper it is
Yeah.
then.
Anything else?
If you had just some
I
old
got-
peanut butter crackers, I would eat those, but
I may have some saltines.
Are we supposed to stay
no,
up
I'll just
until?
take the Coke. I think that we're making
Okay.
progress here.
Are we gonna stay up until, or no break, or just keep going?
You know, I've been practicing law since '83. How long is that? 36 years. And that's always been the ultimate question when you're in a hearing. Do you break for lunch or don't you? So, do you need a nutritional break?
I need something.
Now, we can't break for very long. I've got a long drive to make back.
That's fine. However long you want to.
What do you want? We're here to try to help you out today. What do you want to do? Do you want to take 15 or 20 minutes?
Let's take about 15, 20 minutes, that's fine,
All
cause
right.
I'll go right down here to the convenience store and grab
Please
some.
don't take any longer than that, okay?
Oh, no.
Okay. Is that okay with you?
I'm fine.
Let's see. Let's go over who we got left.
There are 2 board members that are not present, so they wouldn't count.
All right, you're
So
wanting to
the
hear
next-
from Ms. Polinsky,
So
right?
next would be, I guess, it would lead us down to Mr. Williams and
Oh,
Mr.
that's perfect.
Walensky.
Coke or Dr. Pepper?
Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
I tell you what, I'll
Oh.
take that. Since that one's a little bit-
Sorry.
Um,
And I got salt and
ooh,
vinegar.
that's perfect.
Okay.
All right, so we've got Crystal Polinsky, and then you've got